Entitled Odei, which means the personification of storm clouds in Basque mythology, this short film shot in 5 days on the coast of Spain is a great achievement for our group and a piece of work that I've directed that pushed us all to our very limits. On a very small budget, we bought props, costumes and the makeup, keeping a fund for extras like gaffer tape and chalk. This was the first time I had directed more than 2 of the performing arts students, so it was a huge learning curve for me to translate exactly what I wanted in each scene, while also trying to direct the crew. But thankfully I had Danielle as my assistant director to help on this. We spent around 10 weeks writing the script as a group, working to the complex framework we were given, and trying to simplify the relationships between the characters. This scene on the beach for the reveal is one of my favourite scenes, not just for its compositions, but as I feel that it signifies the beginning of the story and the beginning of our journey making this film. The establishing shot really centres the film and establishes the setting perfectly, the calm before the storm. We were ready to shoot this at 5 AM but had to wait a few hours to get the right light. I'm glad we caught this scene on a bleak, overcast morning, as I feel that it captures the tone I wanted to achieve in this scene. The blue hue really delivers as a stark contrast to the colourful, vibrant party scene seen previously. I made the executive decision to not allow DOP Katie on set for this scene. I felt that she wasn't physically or mentally focused to shoot the scene as we had a late shoot the previous night, but I knew what I wanted this scene to do, so I directed camera operator Shabazz and he did a great job taking direction and suggesting shots. I also gave him the opportunity to operate the camera by himself. The shoot went very smoothly as there was minimal crew on set, allowing me to deliver my ideas concisely to a small group who understood and worked well together. Viv did great during the scene even though it was so cold that morning, and Steve and Leanne worked really well together. I took influence from drama Broadchurch to help convey what I wanted from their characters, young police officers trusting their gut instinct, but they brought a lot of ideas to their characters and made them their own. This shot was thought of on the day, I think. I wanted the interrogation scenes to have some connection and to keep the characters at the forefront of the audience's minds. I wanted the parallel action to be seen at the same time, which we shot as one then cut together in the edit, which was a challenge as we had to carefully watch for shadows and effective movements that would hinder the other shot once it had been split. Maybe it wasn't the greatest ideas, but we tried it and learned from it. Because we had no dialogue in this film, we were unsure whether to include flashcards, but I wanted the audience to learn and uncover the murder as the story develops. So even though some characters speak, I think in Steve's case you can lip read his words, and he delivers it in such a way that you can almost hear him say it. I think flashcards would have made the film too cliched. We still wanted it to be modern, and once the Foley and music is added, I think it will add more depth without the need for dialogue. All the flashback party scenes were shot in one full day, which tested us all. We became restless and frustrated, and took it out on one another, probably me especially with the DOP, as I tried to focus on what I was trying to achieve while the rest of the room was carrying on. Danielle controlled the flow for me, asking her to control the volume levels when I needed to concentrate, as there was so much to think about. It was confusing at times to figure out which point in the story we were filming, although I had a script and we'd planned the schedule properly. It definitely helps to have storyboards and the shots blocked off so that it can help the development of the shoot, and it helps me and the DOP to know exactly what we need to do next so that my AD can deliver orders to the crew to arrange the shot quickly and efficiently. I would have preferred a better location for the party scenes that was so bright and bare, but we added elements such as the drinks and the balloons and the lights to try and liven up the scene, but we made the best of what we had as we couldn't location wreck it before filming began. I like the transition from party scene to kill scene. Again, with no audio, I think the POV from the victim works really well, my idea that I brought up during the script writing process. It ironically adds more life to the scene, including the victim in the present day narrative. I wanted Tom to be very calm and driven in Alex's flashback, as she was jealous of his relationship with Viv, which is why she blames him to rid him from her social circle. It was hard for me to ask the actors for what I wanted. I understand they are trained more for the theatre, and this shot I wanted a lot more tension, more subtle movements and characterisation, Alex being withdrawn, Tom being flippant, etc., which was hard to get across, and we couldn't spend too long on it as we had to keep to the schedule, but I've learnt that I need to work on getting my ideas across and understand working with actors. I guess that however hard you try, if there is a camera rolling and you're not an actor, you can feel self-conscious. I asked the extras to be natural, have fun, talk to one another, but I can feel the tension when watching the footage and would have liked more energy and more bodies to fill the spaces so that the character interactions weren't as obvious. Carly was brilliant on the rig, rehearsing the movements with Lisa and the performing arts consistently even when she wasn't needed on set. I watched the footage back after every take and suggested the head roll, finalising the death and capturing Sophie's feet as she runs away. We had to be careful with continuity using Viv's bracelets on Carly's hands, but Carly was great at remembering that. Again, due to limited space, the interrogation location is actually the location of the party. We tried to angle the shot so that it didn't seem obvious. In this scene, I quietly asked Steve to shock Sophie by shouting at her immediately. I wanted to see what reaction Sophie would have, thinking we would capture a natural reaction of shock and emotion. However, she started laughing immediately, so that was that idea scrapped right away. Steve was great at pulling on our emotions, trying to convey the frustrated look. He didn't need a lot of directions for those scenes. We had to create Stephen's character as a red herring in this film, as we had already cast actors before one decided they were joining us. He was featured in every flashback to act as a diversion and possible suspect, but he became the catalyst in Sophie's flashback for Tom to pursue and kill Viv, jealous of her friendship with Stephen. I wanted a lot of the shots to be really simple. The story was complex enough and we weren't capable due to time constraints to block out elaborate shots. For this shot, I asked Steve to look at Leanne as though she was hiding something. We never see her interact with anyone so far in the film apart from Steve. Although we've seen her face, I wanted more mystery from her. We should have featured the CCTV image that Leanne takes more often, as it's meant to be the mystery suspect featured at the party who needs chasing up. Although Richard features little in this film, he captured his character well when needed. We should have maybe got a reverse shot of his interaction with Leanne on the stairs, but the costume department forgot to dress Leanne with a significant red necklace. Selena wasn't well that day, but Adam was our continuity guy and he missed this item. We had shot all of this scene without it, then needed to reshoot again with the necklace, which was frustrating as we wasted time and energy. It was near the end of the week and we were becoming forgetful on things. At this point, I feel that the story begins to step up a gear, adding to the mystery of this detective. I'm really pleased with the movement and composition of this shot too. Here we have the barman's flashback, the correct account of what went on that night. I wanted Richard to be the silent but key witness, the one that keeps himself to himself but knows all. Again, it was hard to shoot with no dialogue to convey this, but the actors did great. I asked them to shout, scream, interact physically with one another and channel their emotions. I like method actors and ones that really push themselves to the extremes in films. Emotions and body language I've learnt from this film are so easily picked up by the camera that any awkwardness or dramatic movements are heightened. We cut between Richard and his flashback as a parallel to the conversation he's having with Steve's character, and so that the audience understands that this is his and the correct version of events. This shot took some rehearsing to get the momentum and cues on time. I think it works well to establish that Viv is drugged by the mystery suspect, and not by any of her friends who are blaming one another. I like the crossfade effect here as well. We decided to do this in the edit to mimic her physical reaction. I'm not keen on this shot. Having watched it a lot now, I feel that handheld mid-close-up behind the characters would have worked much better, but in this shot the camera looks like a character just stood watching. We did miss a shot where at the end of the night Richard finds a drug packet, so in this shot we had to establish this. It's awkward and too obvious, but we had to place it somewhere. We lost light so quickly during this scene that Katie used a high ISO to try and let more light in. However, this reduces the picture quality. We should have rescheduled the shoot for this scene as the camera needed more light. We could have made it marginally darker, but we couldn't have made it any lighter, not even in post-production, when myself, Danielle and Tyler tried to correct it. I asked Richard to be quite panicked, scared, angry, to have a mix of emotions trying to push through. Maybe we should have had the shot on his face longer and done more handheld shots. Again, we couldn't do much with this scene to create a police station. I love the tracking shot behind Leanne's shoulder. Tyler did great rehearsing the movements with Leanne and myself to get the pacing correct. I would have liked more of a reaction from Steve, but I have learnt how to try and get more from the actors from this film. Here we have the replayed scenes, this time with Leanne in every shot. We also got a reverse shot of the pier walk to show Leanne's calculating demeanour towards Viv, and it also shows Viv's unstableness. I decided that I wanted this scene to bring the events together, so by layering Leanne and Nicole's versions, we blended them into one to show that Leanne was actually the mystery suspect. I like the quick cut from the beach to the office, the realisation and shock from the murder scene being recreated as our detective realises that she has been uncovered. Leanne brought a lot of emotion and integrity here. We discussed emotions and how the character may be feeling, and I wanted Leanne to challenge these emotions within her capabilities and what she was comfortable with. She was happy to do so, but I think that it shocked her a little afterwards, but I made sure she was okay and willing to go to that place. There were highs and lows during the film. I clashed with Katie when we worked together, and that relationship should have been stronger, as we had to lead the crew and direct them in what I wanted them to do. We compromised a lot and both had strong ideas, but I also feel that I wanted the other camera operators to have a chance and to work more on the camera and have Katie helping them there. I wish the film was different, but for the constraints we had, I think that we did really well, especially as we had to work to the complex framework we hardly understood the more we went over it. This was the first piece of work that we worked on as a team, and we did surprisingly well to say how little we had known each other for, but came together to work on this film. There were moments where the team didn't pull together and some did take on more work due to this, but we got through it and had this film to show for it. I learnt a lot from this experience and fully understand how important pre-production paperwork, storyboards and planning is. I would have been able to cope with that, but then to direct as well was challenging, fun but very challenging. If we could have location recce before we went, I believe that the film would be more dynamic and have more exciting scenes in it. And it would have given me a chance to work with the actors more and learn how they work so that I could develop my directing skills to pull certain emotions and actions from them. Overall, it's a great achievement to have shot this film in 5 days on a £150 budget with a crew of 10 people, with no lighting equipment and no dialogue, so that is something to be proud of.